Yesterday we talked about the best setup for every class in dungeons, the best armor, weapons, and items. A few of you kept asking what Reforge to use for classes like Mage, Archer, and others. Today we will talk about optimal talisman, weapon, and armor Reforges for each class. If you find my content useful, remember to leave a like, make sure to sub, and hit that bell icon for good luck. Check the description for all the goods, and join my Discord to stay up to date with the community. It's a really nice place to hang out. I'll leave all the links in the description. Thanks, and enjoy the video. I will be going over the classes in the same order I did yesterday. If you want to learn about the best gear builds for each class, remember to watch yesterday's video. I'll leave a card on the top right of your screen. Talisman and armor reforges are the best way to increase your strength and damage. Each reforge has unique buffs to each stat, and optimizing them to your class is very important while playing dungeons. You don't want to be a mage with all strength, do you? Anyway, let's dive right in. For this video, I will constantly refer to a spreadsheet found on the Reforge Update forums post. I will leave a link to it in the description. Starting off with Mage, Mage is a class that entirely focuses on ability damage. Ability damage is calculated on an exponential function, where the more mana you have, the more damage you will do. But as your damage increases, it will cost significantly more mana to increase your damage than it was when you had a lower total max mana. So what Reforge does a Mage use? Mage is the simplest class for Reforges. The talisman should be set to Bizarre, since it gives the most mana, and armor should be set to Necrotic, for the same reason. This will give you as much mana as possible. Just don't look at your crit damage afterwards. For weapons, it's just as easy. Mage should reforge their weapon to Heroic, as holding the weapon will increase your maximum mana, and therefore damage while in your hand. As you can see, a legendary weapon gains plus 100 mana when reforged to Heroic. That's pretty good for just holding a weapon. Berserker gets very complicated. I have a fantastic video explaining the meta behind attack speed and how it doubles your damage. I will still go over the reforges here, but if you would like to know why you shouldn't use all forceful and fierce armor, please watch that video. It does a great job explaining the meta behind a Berserker's attack speed. Link to the card is in the top right. Berserker has a very complicated reforge set, and a few different options based on your skill level, but the general idea is still the same. For common talismans, you will want Silky, which gives 5 crit damage, or Forceful, which gives 4 strength. Uncommon talismans get a bit strange. Strange gives 1 strength, 2 crit damage, and 2 attack speed. Rare has multiple options. Depending on your attack speed after reforging, you will want Itchy for more attack speed, Bloody for more damage but still attack speed, or Forceful purely for more damage. Remember to only go for more damage after you meet the 100% attack speed cap. Epics should also be set to Strange. You get 4 attack speed this time, and some damage as well. All legendaries should be set to Forceful. And if you have any mythical talismans, you should definitely set them to Strange, since it gives an incredible amount of attack speed and decent damage. Again, I would recommend watching my Berserker Reforge guide, since it can be very complicated to balance these stats. Luckily, Berserker armor is pretty easy. I can put it 3 ways. If you have no coins, use Pure. If you have some coins, use Spiked. And if you're a rich legend, use Renown. All of these reforges basically give minor improvements to all stats, and the more expensive ones, of course, have better stats. Personally, mine are set to Spiked. Weapons really only have one reforge. Since you are a Berserker, you either have an Adaptive Blade or a Silent Death. Both of these should use the Fabled Reforge, as it gives a massive strength and crit damage buffs. In addition to stats, the Fabled Reforge comes with an ability to deal up to 20% more damage per hit. Since it's anywhere from 0 to 20%, we can just call this 10% increase to damage, as that's the average you will get. The next 3 are much simpler, thankfully. Taking a look at Healer, the optimal healer should have their talismans set to a mix of Pleasant and Shiny. This is to get a good balance of health and defense. Personally, I would go with 2/3 Shiny and 1/3 Pleasant, since that's personally the best mix I've found. Another way to put it is to set all commons and uncommons to Pleasant, and then rares, epics, legendaries, and mythicals to Shiny, since most tanky sets lack raw health. For armor, you should aim for the perfect reforge. If that's slightly out of your price range, Reinforced does the job almost as well, the only difference being Perfect gives plus 2% defense instead of just 80 defense on a legendary. Since healers won't have much crit chance or damage, I'd recommend the legendary Reforge on swords, since it gives a large amount of crit chance, and also some mana and damage. This is your best bet, since healer's primary job isn't damage, but it's definitely still required to have a useful sword for hitting some monsters away. Yesterday, I said Archer wasn't very useful, and that was a big mistake. Some of you told me about a bow called the Boomerang, and how it can deal similar damage to that of a maxed Berserker, while also having piercing, which is quite insane. I wasn't going to include much for Archer, but since this class is quickly becoming one of the best, I'll go into more detail. Archer needs to output as much damage as possible. I was recently informed that Adaptive is a better choice than Skeleton Master. Skeleton Master still does the most damage, but it's so squishy, it's not worth risking it. This armor should be reforged to Fierce to provide as much damage as possible. Archers should have their talismans set to a mix of Forceful and Silky to provide maximum damage on their bows. A good rule of thumb is strength is generally more valuable than crit damage, but you don't want it to fall too far behind. Try and aim for a 60 to 40 strength to crit damage ratio. Try setting all commons, uncommons, and rares to Silky, and epic to legendaries to Forceful, as this provides slightly higher stats than using superior or strong Reforges. For bows, Archers should get the new Spiritual Reforge on their Boomerang. The Spiritual Reforge provides large buffs to strength, crit chance, and crit damage. It also has an ability to spawn a decoy occasionally when you defeat an enemy. The final class we have to cover is Tank, and fortunately, it's the same build as Healer. You should reforge your talismans to a mix of Pleasant and Shiny at about a 2/3 ratio, making sure you have enough defense to not die and HP to be comfortable. Reforge common, uncommon, and rares to Shiny, and epics to legendaries to Pleasant. This ensures you won't die. For armor, I strongly recommend a tank gets the perfect reforge. It may be costly, but that 2% defense on each piece really adds up and can give hundreds of defense in late game floors. Weapons should be set to legendary, just like with Healer, because you get a bit of every stat, making yourself the sturdy tank you've always dreamed of being. Before I end the video, I want to quickly mention that sometimes people discover new things, and since this is a new meta to us, Lore 4 just came out, sometimes people find out that new classes are better. This is a great example with Archer, that we found out that the Boomerang is super strong after I made the class update guide, so if you know anything else, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to make some kind of comment or something to let people know of the new changes. That just about covers it for every class, and the reforges you should use. If you found today's video helpful, a like is greatly appreciated, and since you made it to the end, consider subscribing. It's tough for small channels to compete with the more popular channels, and your support means the world to me. I try to keep my videos up to date to the best of my ability, so if anything changes, I'll be sure to make an update in the comments. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.